All right, let's do this. We'll hit this here. This is going to be Paranormasight, The 7 Mysteries of Honjo, Part 3. I have really been liking this, to be honest, Unnatural. It's really wild. Like, in the best way possible. Oh, I have a few things still hitting here, but hey, we'll give you the rundown on this one. If you haven't joined us in the Discord, check it out. There's the YouTube to catch up on our playthrough. Shoutouts to the tea blends we put together for Adagio. Proceeds on those benefit the Trevor Project. And if you want to support the Stinky Cat Boy on stream, check out the Throne wishlist. Let me check where I left off on this. So for our playthrough, the last time we did this, I am pretty sure, well, I'll let you know we unlocked the actual game. We got through the tutorial. So now we have the actual, like, protagonist of the story. Where did my notes go? Ah, there they are. All right, as we were. There we go. How's our audio balance? I think this game's a little... Yeah, let's, audio. There we go, that looks a little bit better. Maybe a little bit lower. There it is. Okay. Let's talk to Richter. These aren't exhausted yet. You know, we still need to figure out exactly what you want me to do. Tell you what, why don't I tell you what I've found, and then we can make a decision. All right. The kidnapper managed to convince Shuichi to get into their car. But how? The only thing that makes sense to me is if they were somebody that he would have had a reason to trust. A teacher, perhaps, or a relative, or somebody else that he knew. But all the adults Shuichi knew had alibis. The police checked all of them thoroughly. They did, huh? No one throws numbers at a problem like the cops. But what if it wasn't someone he knew? Or rather, what if the culprit disguised themselves as a police officer? That would explain why he didn't find them suspicious. The Shigema family has close ties with the police, after all. He would have had a reason to trust them. You might be right. But surely that couldn't have... Well, there's a problem with this theory. You'd be surprised how much police officers stand out. That's sort of the point, after all. They're meant to be a visible deterrent against crime. But there's another interesting little bit of trivia I happen to know. When you ask people to imagine someone suspicious, nobody pictures women or children. Even kids who've been warned about stranger danger often subconsciously expect that danger to look like an adult man. Besides, Shuichi was the sort of boy who wanted to be a police officer when he grew up. He must have had a very strong sense of right and wrong. Yeah, that's right. Wait, surely you can't mean... Now you're getting it. If, say, a young woman approached Shuichi asking for help, what would he have done? If someone like that said they were lost and asked him for directions, would he have gotten into a car? He might have. My husband's always told him that a man had a duty to watch out for women and children. You could certainly argue that kind of attitude is outdated nowadays. But if Shuichi believed it, then we might have something here. Then you think the culprit was a young woman? But it was a man's voice on the phone. She might have been an accomplice, or maybe she didn't even realize she was being used. If anything, that would explain why she hasn't come forward. She herself might not realize she had anything to do with the case. Still more. So, the question is, did anybody see Shuichi speaking with a young woman on the day of his disappearance? See, what I said about people's biases, that goes for witnesses too. And I figured that maybe, if I started asking new questions, I might get some new answers. So I spent my day asking around Shuichi's school route to see if anyone had seen something. And one man thought he had. Do you mean he saw it happen? Well, I can't say for sure yet. It turned out he wanted something from me, so he asked if we could talk in private. And I gave him the old gluck gluck sucky McTwist. Alright, this should do. There's no one around. We can speak in confidence. Excuse me, what was your name again? Junouchi. Well, Junouchi, I'm all ears. Just so we're on the same page. You're a private detective investigating Shuichi Shigima's kidnapping. Do I have that right? Of course. What else do I look like? How should I know what a private detective looks like? You know what? Forget it. Look, I'll tell you straight. My life is in danger and I need your help. You'll excuse me if you caught me a little off guard. Let me ask you straight. Who's trying to kill you? A student called Michio Shiraishi. Interesting. A schoolgirl, huh? Sounds like you've been naughty. It's nothing like that. That girl, she's a murderer. I'm the only one who knows, but I saw what she did. Michio Shiraishi. I saw her kidnap Shuichi Shigima. Come again? I saw her talk to him on the street and lead him away. I didn't think much of it at the time, but then he went missing. She murdered him, I'm sure of it, or at least she's got something to do with it. That's what you're here for, isn't it? Then you can't let her get to me. If that's true, you've been sitting on some valuable information. Why didn't you tell anybody? Well, you see, if you can't explain that, I don't have any reason to believe you. I couldn't. She told me she'd kill me if I spoke a word. You're telling me a schoolgirl had you scared for your life? So you've been sitting on that all this time, and you think she's coming for you now that you've spilled the beans? Yes, that's it, exactly. I'm begging you, don't let her get to me. Arrest her, I'm telling you, she's a demon. Well, you seem to believe what you're saying, but it just doesn't add up. How could a schoolgirl have a fully grown man so terrified? You don't know what she can do. She'll curse me. Curse you? I'm sorry, but you're kind of losing me here, bud. It's true. Her house. It's... forget it. Why do I even bother? You seem dubious enough to believe me, but I should have known you'd never understand. Enough. I'll find someone else to help me. Hey. And that's about the long and the short of it. I can hardly believe it. At the time, I thought his mention of curses was just crazy talk. But I'm starting to see that there might have been more to it. Then, if we can just find that girl. Curse or no curse, if she's with Shuichi on the day of the kidnapping, then there's a good chance she knows something. On top of that, I did some digging on the man I spoke to. His full name is Kohei Junoichi. He's a teacher at Komagata High School here in Sumida. A teacher? Then this schoolgirl is one of his students? I think that's very likely. It's a lot of dialogue. At last, we've got a lead. Hopefully it'll be the breakthrough we were looking for. The rite of resurrection, huh? I read about that in an occult magazine the other day. Apparently, some old book showed up recently with all the gory details. And they say that the rite can be found somewhere in Honjo. I remember the first time you told me about that. It felt like my prayers had been heard. Like I had hope, real hope, for the first time. Ever since that awful day, I've wondered, what if I hadn't sent him to school? What if I'd just paid the ransom? Not a day goes by when I don't think that if I'd done something differently, Shuichi would still be alive. Oh, you can't blame yourself, ma'am. It was the culprit's fault, not yours. Though, I know that won't help any. Grief is kind of funny like that. I'm guessing that's why you're after the right? You know what, Sness?
True! 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 Whoa, whoops! Oh, I dropped my monster condom that I used for my Magnum Dong.
I'm out of here.
Guess I didn't need to ask. It's written all over your face. I can tell how much he meant to you. But, and this is a big but, if this rite is the real deal, using it will mean killing someone and stealing their soul. Yo, she is down. Dude, I don't know. SNES.
Grab his dick and twist it! Oh my god, dude, this is an MMA fight, dude!
True.
Twist that dick! Twist his dick! Twist his dick! Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Oh, dick twist!
I don't know, SNES. What, where is she ranking right now on the crazy to hot, the crazy hot scale? All right, chat, chime in with your vote. You can do it. Oh, she gets very deranged. Is that a problem? Well, if it comes to that, I'm afraid I'll have to stop you. Oh, that's a shame. A shame, huh? That's all? I thought, if I'm going to be competing with other curse bearers, then your detective skills might come in useful. You realize you're talking about ending someone's life, right? Don't you see an issue with that? I think any parent in my position would happily kill for a chance like this. That's so, is it? Dear, oh dear, what have I gotten myself into? I think that bumps her to an 8-7, maybe 8-8 if you're into it. If it makes you uncomfortable, then you won't have to get any blood on your hands yourself. I don't need you to kill the other curse bearers. I only need you to find them. Ma'am, I won't be party to murder, not even for a client. How much can I give you to change your mind? Sorry, ma'am, but not everyone has a price. That is false. Everyone's got a price. I've got my policies, and I stick to them. I see. I didn't realize you were so stubborn. Let me say, though, it's not like I don't get what you're going through. As long as you're not killing anyone with your own hands, maybe I can help you out. What do you have in mind? Well, How about stealing someone else's curse stone after they've filled it with soul dregs? If that's all you're after, then I could lend you my services guilt-free. If the other curse bearers want to kill each other, that's their business. I'm not trying to be a hero. I guess there's no guarantee a stolen curse stone will work, but we can worry about that later. Well then, I suppose we have a deal. Although, what if I stole a curse stone using my curse? Would you disapprove? Yeah, that would void our contract, ma'am. I'm just warning you now. My. This has been a lot of dialogue, but at least it moves. Yeah? Wait. Mm-hmm. So the first character we control is basically just like kind of the intro to how the game works. Yes, I am the crazy hot lady who has bags under her eyes, Sness. It makes sense now. Yeah, it's really interesting. So it opens. So after you get through the first character's like story, it breaks up into like 3 different storylines. Kind of like 13 Sentinels, how like you start as one character and then you can like kind of go back in time and redo stuff to get like different answers and scenarios. That was just the first thing I could think of. Before we go any further, why don't you tell me about that curse of yours? The haunting clappers, was it? Ayo! She clapping them cheeks. That's one of the 7 mysteries of Honjo, if I remember correctly. That's right. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The original story did happen somewhere near here, I think. I'm sure I remember hearing that. In that case... In that case, my money would be on all the curse bearers being somewhere in Honjo. Our first move should be to narrow them down. Some of them are bound to try and come for you first, so we'll need to be ready. The curses make their bearers more willing to kill, so an attack could come from anywhere. That sounds sensible. And if I remember correctly, your haunting clappers can set people on fire, but only if they have a naked flame or a lighter on their person. Is that right? That's right. In olden times, wooden clappers were used to warn people of fire. I'm guessing it punishes those who don't heed the warning. Seemed like a good curse to have. It's simple and straightforward enough to use. Although, it's hard to say how it stacks up without knowing what else is on the table. You really think it's that good? The target can't do much to throw it off, and it has a nice long activation window. It's big that it works on lighters, too. Just slip one into your target's pocket. And say that condition were already fulfilled before they even know you're there? They wouldn't even know what hit them. Maybe I won't actually use it. I could just tell someone I could, and then they'd have to do what I say. Threats could work, although without any proof, it'll come down to how convincing you can be. If only you could use the curse, then back out at the last second. At the last second? What an interesting idea. I have a lighter right here. Could we try it now? That's an interesting proposition. But maybe not. I'm not quite crazy enough to make myself a guinea pig. Oh, I see. You're an odd one, ma'am. If you don't mind me saying. And I don't think it's just the curse. You flatterer. She is absolutely trying to smash. I just haven't figured out it's with her pants off or on. Have a good day. As for what we do next, first of all, I think you should stay indoors. Try not to do anything spontaneous or outside of your normal routine. Right then. Have you decided what you want me working on? Finally. Finally, I have a lead. I need to know what happened to my son. Your wish is my command, ma'am. I'll focus all my efforts on looking into the kidnapping. Although, something just occurred to me. You can't investigate the matter at night, can you? At least until the sun rises. Could you search for the other curse bearers? Alright, I see how it is. Well, I'd be happy to help. Odds are good that the other curse bearers are also working by night. Anyone they kill under the cover of darkness won't be discovered until sunrise. I bet they'll be trying to do as much as they can before morning comes. So, it's settled then. I'll look into the other curse bearers by night, and once the city wakes up, I can start asking questions. I'll investigate the kidnapping as well. And I'll even try and find Ms. Shiraishi as part of the bargain. Thank you. That's more than enough. Well, I should get to work. There's only so much time before sunrise. I'll call you if I find anything new. You stay here and keep a lookout. All right. There's no telling what kinds of curses you might find out on the street tonight. Don't go outside if you can help it, and try to be ready for anything. Oh yeah, he does. He is wild, Sness. Well, if that's all, I should be going. Oh, he absolutely is. Private investigator by night, porn star or cameraman by day. It's been almost an hour since Richter left. He promised he'd call me if anything happened, but he hasn't. So all I can do is wait. And wait. The hell? What's this? A newspaper? It must have fallen off the chair. It's a newspaper. I only leave them in here for the guests. I hardly ever read them myself. I don't think I've taken the time to go over one in years, in fact. Well, it's not like I have anything better to do. It looks like the city's biggest problem right now is pollution. I remember how the air and water used to be even more polluted. The river was covered in scum from all the sewage and industrial waste, and it stank so badly it made my eyes water. Eventually, people started getting sick, and it couldn't be ignored anymore. Fortunately, it's gotten better since then. Although, the air around the industrial district is still filthy with gas and smog. That's not right. If there's one thing Honjo never wants for, it's horrific crimes. They found a police officer dead in a local park just the other day. A lot of my family are in the police. I hope it wasn't anybody I knew. I don't read the news anymore, not since last year. It brings back bad memories. Suicide at local high school? Oh, I remember that. A high school girl jumped off a roof about a week ago. She was bullied, I think. Or maybe it was something about exam pressure. What? No, this can't be right. Her name. Michio Shiraishi from Komogata High School? It can't be. Oh. Looks like our lead just got busted. I was waiting for Richter to contact me, but he hasn't. I've made sure the receiver is on the hook. It'll ring as soon as he calls. Ah! That must be him. All right, time to answer the phone. Hello, Shigema residence. Damn, we passed a whole hour. Ah, Komagata Bridge. I will tell you, Richter probably throws some mean circle kicks in the pit. Richter called me out to meet him, and we came here, the Komagata Bridge. Richter, there's something I need to tell you. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing. Hey, y'all. Alright, go through this. The Sumida River. The water is filthy and horrid, but at night, when it's still, it looks almost peaceful. Can I ask you something, ma'am? Is the Sumida River what you Honjo folks picture of when you think of home? I couldn't say. All I can tell you is that I can hardly stand the sight of it. Right, could have guessed. This is where they found him after he went missing. All alone, floating in that horrible water. All I can think is how scared he must have been. How cold he must have been. What did he ever do to deserve something so awful? I've come here every day since then. I prayed to the river to give him back to me. To give me back my son. Day after day after day. You know, in olden times, people believed rivers marked where our world met the next. So, the act of crossing flowing water had a huge amount of spiritual significance. Back when Edo was founded, the people of Cho saw the Sumida River the same way. They associated the far side of the river with the afterlife. That same place would later become Honjo. All their fear and revulsion accumulated there and took root. But then the Ryugoku Bridge sprang up after the Great Fire of Mireki. Just like that, Honjo was part of the city too. And as it turned from farmland into a town, the people surrounded it with man-made rivers and crisscrossed it with canals and waterways. Weren't those to prevent flooding? Weren't those to prevent flooding? That's what I was told. They were, but that's not all they were for. Their other purpose was to contain all the corruption that had built up on the far shore, and stop it leaking through to our side of the Great Divide. Officially, they were a physical barrier, but unofficially, they were a spiritual one. to. So, if I have this right, are you saying that Honjo is a place where the real world meets the afterlife? Exactly. That's why the rite of resurrection is here, rather than anywhere else. I'm sure of it. I missed that line. And it's probably why the 7 mysteries and their curses have survived to the modern day. And I guess that would make the spot we're standing now, right over the water, the border between life and death. If there ever was a place where bringing back the dead might be possible, I reckon it's here. It's funny that you mentioned praying to the river. That might have done more than you think. Is that supposed to make me feel better? Just thinking aloud, ma'am. Well, it's a nice thought. Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, I didn't tell him. There's one more memory I have of this river. You mind if I tell you? Go ahead. It must have been about 20 years now, when I was still a schoolgirl. Back then, the Sumida River was much filthier than it is now. It was full of garbage and industrial discharge. It was scummy and slimy, and it stank. You could look over the water and just see dead animals, just floating. And one day, among all the filth and garbage, there was a piece of my missing classmate's hand. I'm sorry, what? It was almost a miracle when you stop to think about it. What were the chances that someone would find a part of her that was still recognizable? And that although everything but the palm had rotted away in the water, the part that was left would have been an unidentifiable scar. And that they could tell had been a murder from a blade marks to the bone. Wait. Are you talking about the Nejima murders? So you have heard of it. I'm impressed. I assume you were but an elementary schooler at the time. Alright, Sness. She's got to be at least in her mid-30s. I wasn't really aware of it then. I only heard about it after the fact. I had no idea the victim was a classmate of yours. To be honest, it was all a bit of a blur. A wave of chaos just parting around me. Something like that. They said the rest of the body must have sunk to the bottom of the river. They combed the riverbed, but they only ever found pieces. Everything else must have rotted and flowed out to sea. Afterwards, I heard that all the divers who had been looking for her fell ill. A sorry story for everyone involved, huh? It's funny. Everyone figures the river's filthy already, so one more piece of garbage won't hurt. But every little bit makes it worse. It's a vicious cycle. I know I wouldn't want to go rooting around down there myself. That's right. Which is why the riverbed is the last place anyone would go looking. Or so was the killer's thinking, I suppose. And times were changing quickly back then. Things were confusing. Everyone seemed to be in a hurry. Young people were moving to Tokyo in droves. Some even ran away from home to make it in the big city. And they made easy targets for bad people. A lot of them ended up disappearing without a trace. You see, back then, if you chopped up a body, or chopped the body up into tiny pieces and threw it in the river, it would rot, quickly and discreetly, and sink to the bottom, never to be seen again. She probably murdered all these people. Are you saying what I think you're saying? They arrested him shortly after. Fumichika Nejima. The man who killed my classmate and cut her into pieces. He was so methodical about it, it couldn't have been his first crime. And people began to wonder how many other girls he'd murdered the same way. The police never found any evidence of other murders in the end. But the river knows the truth. How many corpses has it swallowed up over the years? I wonder. That same thought spread through everyone's mind, and they just started to avoid this area. So really, this river has been ranked with corruption for decades now. Or at least, that's how it seems to me. Well, was that interesting? Well, I can see why you don't have any good memories of this river. With all that darkness lurking beneath the surface, there's no reason that you would. Still, if I may, ma'am, I'm surprised you know so much about the Nejima murders. How could I not? After all, I was the one who found the hand. Here you go, SNES. You can get that slow zoom. Do you think she'd spit in your coffee if you asked nicely?
He needs some milk.
Emotional damage.
Jerry, I want you to fuck me, Jerry.
Fuck me!
I'm 26 and not yet desperate enough to hook a car battery up to my sounding rod and digivolve into the type of person who enjoys it when the game cheats just because I eventually won anyways.
True. The police actually wrote me a thank you letter. They said it was only thanks to me that they managed to bring Nejima to justice. That was the only time my father ever said he was proud of me. Oh no, she's got a praise kink. Huh. I guess it just wasn't the killer's day. Sometimes I wonder if he resents me for it. He's gazing down at the water. What does he see down there, I wonder? Please, go ahead. All right, then. I've been poking around places connected to the 7 mysteries, looking for curse bearers. And I think I've found a few candidates. First, a tall man I ran into at Kinshibori Park. I asked him for directions, trying to probe him a little. But he turned the questions right back around on me. And he was out of there the second he figured I wasn't what he was looking for. I got the sense curses were nothing new to him. I'm about 40% sure he's a curse bearer. Then there was this middle-aged guy I saw on South Warigaesui Street. I can speak. There's no question about this one. He had one of the curse stones in his hand. He had a nervous air about him, too. It was clear he was up to some shady business. Gathering soul dregs, I'd bet. He'd make a good target. Next up is a pair, a young man and woman I saw around Ryogoku Bridge. This time, the man came up to me and asked me flat out if I was a curse bearer. I told him I didn't know what he was talking about, and he backpedaled and left. Looks like they lurk around here often. Looking for kindred spirits would be my guess. Although, it didn't seem as though they were quite working as a pair. Gathering soul dregs in a group might be a decent idea if you could make it work. But with things being how they are, it's got to be hard to find folks one can trust. They've got brass, though. I don't know what their deal is, but I would like to find out. Last is 2 detectives I've seen sniffing around. The police are involved? Not necessarily. A body turned up in a local park a few days ago, so they might just be looking into that. Still, the park's got ties to one of the 7 mysteries. Might be it was a curse that did the guy in. And if they're sending in detectives from head office, then something's gotta be up. How do you know where they're from? Let's just say that when you're in this business, there are some faces you get to know. Anyway, that's everyone who's caught my eye. Have you found all of them in so little time? I really did hire the best. It's all in the name, ma'am. Richter Kai, P.I. The P.I. stands for Penis Inspector. Now, wait, make that Richter Kai, Investigator Extraordinaire. My, an Investigator Extraordinaire? Is that why you can dress like that without drawing attention to yourself? You bet. An investigator extraordinaire can blend in like a chameleon in any outfit. Well, that aside, the middle-aged man and the young couple sound the most promising, am I right? Whichever we pick, it's still too early to make a move. It seems like the curse bearers are less involved with each other than we thought. Plus, there's still others we don't know about. I say we hang fire and see how things play out. Once more bodies start showing up, that'll get the pot nice and hot. And once it's boiling, our chance will come. There's something I need to tell you. What's up? Well, that girl, Michio Shiraishi? The one who was with Shuichi on the day of the kidnapping? Yeah, that's her. Well, she's dead. She's what? The student who committed suicide last week. That was her. I heard something like that had happened. Never got the name, though. Talk about bad luck. Finally get a lead, only to find it's turned into a literal dead end. Unless her death was the whole reason Jonouchi was shaken up. He said she was going to curse him. Is he talking about her taking revenge from beyond the grave? Well, it seems like it's back where we started. Not necessarily. That teacher knows something, I'm sure of it. At the very least, I'd put money on him having something to do with Miss Shiraishi's death. That's why he's scared of being cursed by her. I see. And also, something tells me he knows more about your son's kidnapping. In any case, I think I've got a good idea of what he's hiding. Call it a hunch. A hunch? Well, more of a theory. Care to take a guess? I can't say for certain, but Mr. Jonoichi silenced Michio Shiraishi with blackmail. What do you think? Exactly my thinking. Jonouchi knew about Ms. Shiraishi's connection to the kidnapping, and he used that to blackmail her into doing his bidding. He made her feel so trapped she took her own life to escape. That's my read on it. How despicable. Well, it's just a theory. A game theory. Right now, I think we need to have another chat with Mr. Jonouchi. Alright, bet. Say no more, fam. Is something wrong? Not really. It just struck me. It's been 20 years since the Nejima murders. So it has. Not to spook you or anything, but I thought you might be interested in knowing. Life in prison doesn't always mean life. There's precedent for first-time offenders being allowed out on parole after 20 years. Only if they're found to show remorse and the desire to reform themselves, of course. That's right. I'm impressed you know so much. Still, it's hard for someone with a criminal record to reintegrate into society. I hear they've been trying to fix that recently, matching inmates with jobs and accommodation. Oh, really? They keep an eye on them, of course, and make them report in for regular checkups. But to avoid discrimination, they keep the inmates' records a secret from everyone but their employers. They even give particularly notorious criminals new identities so they won't be recognized in the workplace. You know what's up, Chai? My. The way you put it, it's like you're saying Fumichika Nejima could be out on parole right now, back in society under a new name with nobody any the wiser. It's possible. As it happens, a little birdie told me about a big name making parole a few months back. But I don't know if that was Nejima. But our discussion just now did bring it to mind. Oh, I see. How unsettling. Now that you mention it, I just remembered something too. What was it? I was passing Komagata High School a little while ago when I saw someone. Yeah, nice. A janitor, I think. I could have sworn he reminded me of Fumichika Nejima. Oh? He looked a little different after 20 years. Much thinner than I remembered, too. I told myself I was just seeing things. But perhaps it was him after all. So, what's next? The big question now is what the rest of the curse bearers are up to. Luckily, the Samita River is a good distance from any of the 7 mysteries. Yay! Glad it went well. It's unlikely the other curse bearers will come all the way here. I can finally have a moment to think. I see. All right. Well, it looks like we'll have to suspend it there. We'll come back to it though. That was a nice little 45-minute little blaster there. Let's work on a little Forspoken speedrun, I guess.